The diet of champions, Novak Djokovic versus Erling Haaland. What if I told you that two of the greatest athletes on earth who compete in completely different sports have completely different diets, yet they are both still dominating? One is still performing at an age when most athletes in his sport have retired, and the other has become one of the most physically dominant footballers, that's soccer to those of you in the US, that the world has ever seen. So which diet is right? That's the exact question, because their diets are so different. Because these two sporting superstars teach us one of the biggest lessons in nutrition that almost nobody is talking about, because everybody keeps debating these things online. Which diet is better? So let's start with Novak Djokovic, my favorite for other reasons too. Because in my opinion, what Novak is doing today is basically unprecedented. He's 39 years old and he just reached the Wimbledon semifinals. And on his run to the semifinals, he was performing at an unbelievable level, winning games which were over 5 hours long, beating people who are 15, 20 years younger than him. And yet he's still extremely competitive and producing a level of play which is up here. His flexibility, his recovery, his speed, endurance, they are extraordinary and again, unprecedented. I know 39 years old seems young, but for tennis, most tennis players have retired and they've had a decline. But he's sustained his excellence for so long. So I want to talk about what he eats, but let's talk about Erling Haaland, the great Norwegian football player who also plays for Manchester City. He's 6'5", he's lightning fast, exceptionally powerful, and an incredible goal scorer. And he's unique because he combines strength with explosiveness and endurance. The defenders often don't know what to do. And we've rarely seen that type of performance. Now, he's 25 years old, so he's a lot younger than Novak Djokovic, but he's already rewriting records. And Norway just went out against England. But anyway, he was performing amazingly up until then. But here's where it gets very interesting, because their diets are remarkably different. Let's think about Novak Djokovic first. He has repeatedly said that he follows a predominantly plant-based diet. I think he was almost completely vegan at one stage. And he has said many times as well, he does not eat red meat, he avoids it. And his meals are built around vegetables, beans, lentils. He eats quinoa, seeds, nuts, fruits, very whole foods, but predominantly vegetables. And he eats healthy fats, minimally processed foods. He's very particular about that. He wants to eat very clean, treats his body well in other ways as well, very careful, of course, what goes into it. And this approach clearly works very well for him because he's performing at an unbelievable level. Erling Haaland, however, well, he takes the opposite approach in many ways. He's spoken openly about eating meat, a significant amount of meat, different types of meat, and his focus is on very nutrient-dense foods, predominantly protein. He eats eggs as well, fish, and a very large amount of calories. It's often been said he eats over 6,000 calories a day to fuel one of the most demanding sports in the world. And of course, we know he's very, very fast. Now, clearly, this is working for him right now, this approach, which is very different from Novak Djokovic. But here's the important lesson, because if you spend enough time online, you see people debating endlessly on social media their particular athlete and why it proves that a certain diet is best. There are a lot of people that I've seen their posts come up in the carnivore community. They are always claiming that the animal-based diet is the way to go, like Haaland, when clearly there are a lot of athletes who eat in a very different way, like Novak Djokovic. But whatever tribe you're in, because this can get very tribal online, there is a very important story here. Because when you look across Olympic champions, Grand Slam champions, World Cup winners, whatever sport you're talking about, you will find an enormous amount of variety. Certain athletes are predominantly plant-based, like Novak Djokovic. Others will make it a point to emphasize that they are eating a fair amount of meat. And there is a spectrum in between. Some, especially some of the Olympic athletes, are very big on carb intake. They need a lot of carbohydrates. But the truth is that the champion's mindset, and this is exactly what Novak Djokovic and Erling Haaland have in common, is not to be intensely tribal. In fact, they often keep their dietary habits to themselves and they only talk about them during interviews, but they do have some principles. They focus on real foods. They stay away from ultra-processed junk, which is 80 to 90% of the grocery store, all that packaged food. They want to eat wholesome foods. They absolutely minimize sugar. There's a lesson there when so many people are consuming insane amounts of sugar. Sugar is in a lot of processed foods as well. So they prioritize their whole foods. Obviously, they train hard. They prioritize recovery, sleep, consistency, and of course, discipline. They are very mentally strong. And those qualities actually matter far more than arguing over which diet is better. The most important thing is to eat clean, minimize sugars, go for real foods. Obviously, they work very hard as well. They're training every day. So whenever somebody tells you or you hear online that this is the only diet for peak performance, I want you to remember two polar opposites like Novak Djokovic and Erling Haaland. Completely different diets and the same extraordinary results. Of course, Erling Haaland is a lot younger. We don't know what he's going to be like down the line, but they are adhering to certain principles with their diet. And this is the important lesson for everybody out there that yes, you can argue about different types of diet, whether you are plant-based, whether you eat more meat, but those principles are always the same. And the most important thing is to eat as much real food as possible, food that your ancestors would have recognized. And as for these champions like Novak Djokovic and Erling Haaland, of course, mindset plays a huge role as well because they have the mindset of champions. They are very disciplined. They want to reach the top. They are very competitive. They don't want to settle for second best. And that is what makes true champions. Thank you everybody for watching. Go England in the World Cup. I hope that video was helpful to you. Do comment down below. Also check in the links down below for my website and all the other work I do, including my MetThrive M5 30-day health reset. Kickstart your journey towards better health with natural fat loss and insulin resistance reversal. Also check in the links down below for our natural health and well-being store, which we're very excited to be expanding. ohiwellness.com if you're in the USA, North America, ohiwellness.co if you're in the UK, Europe. If you enjoyed this video, I have a feeling you will also enjoy this video right here. We will speak again very soon.